in control of it? Will
Immediate.
Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By whom?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in
Me
control
and
of
the
Strait of
Ayatollah,
Hormuz?
whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look,
After vowing to obliterate Iran's power grid, is Trump now trying to rebrand himself as a kind of co-ruler of the region who can personally switch the war on and off? From promising strikes to hinting at a complete and total resolution, is Trump quietly floating a joint leadership fantasy where he and Tehran decide the fate of Hormuz together? When Trump brags that only me and the Ayatollah can really control the Strait of Hormuz, is he advertising strength, or exposing how much he needs Iran to climb down? Or was it Iran's threat against the UAE's Barakah nuclear plant and other Gulf power hubs that finally convinced Trump he had to slam the brakes? After Tehran's media openly listed the South Korea-built Barakah nuclear plant as a potential target, did Washington suddenly realize how far this tit-for-tat could spiral? With Barakah in the crosshairs, did anxious Gulf partners quietly pressure Trump to pause, fearing nuclear-adjacent strikes on their own soil? Donald Trump now says the US and Iran have held talks aimed at a complete and total resolution of hostilities in the Middle East. On March 23, he announced that he has postponed his threatened strikes on Iranian power plants for 5 days. Iran's foreign ministry quickly denied that any such talks have taken place, directly contradicting Trump's narrative. Trump later claimed the US side in these contacts was represented by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, adding another twist to the story.
Just in detail, you said there's many points of agreement with Iran right now.
Many.
What, can you give us a few
many,
of those?
like 15 points. 15
That
points.
Iran has said yes.
Well, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That's number one. That's number 1, 2, and 3. They will never have a nuclear
They've
weapon.
said yes to that?
They've agreed to that.
What about the Strait
Thank
of
you.
Hormuz? Who's going to be in control of that?
That'll be opened very soon if this works.
How soon? And who's in
Immediate.
control of it? Will
Immediate.
Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By whom?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in
Me
control of
and the
Strait of Hormuz?
Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be a form of a very serious form of a regime change. Now, in all fairness, everybody's been killed from the regime. They're really starting off. There's automatically a regime change. But we're dealing with some people that I find to be very reasonable, very solid. The people within know who they are. They're very respected. And maybe one of them will be exactly what we're looking for. Look at Venezuela, how well that's working out. We are doing so well in Venezuela with oil and with the relationship between the president-elect and us. And maybe we find somebody like that in Iran.
Are you considering any more options to lower the price of oil while these talks?
The price of oil will drop like a rock as soon as a deal is done. I guess it already is today. No, we have a very serious chance of making a deal. That doesn't guarantee anything. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm not going to come out here in a week or 2 weeks and have you all say, oh, you said. I didn't say anything. All I'm saying is we are in the throes of a real possibility of making a deal. And I think if I were a betting man, I'd bet for it. But again, I'm not guaranteeing anything. They want to make a deal very badly. Thank you.
Are these
direct
talks
for Iran? President on the plane crash that happened there
Terrible.
last week?
They made a mistake. It's a dangerous business. That's terrible. Thank you.
All this came just after the IRGC threatened to hit power plants and even water-linked infrastructure across the Middle East if the US attacks Iran's grid. On March 22nd, Iran warned that if the US hits its power plants, it will answer by striking American-linked infrastructure in return. Iran's military said that in such a scenario, energy hubs, IT nodes, and desalination sites would all be fair targets for retaliation. The IRGC warned that an attack on Iran's power network would not stay local, but trigger a region-wide response across multiple Gulf states. Just hours later, state media pushed out a detailed list of Gulf power and water facilities that Iran says are already in its crosshairs. Near Al-Khobar, Iran highlights a major gas-fired plant with more than 4,000 megawatts of capacity as a prime potential target. It also flags Ras Tanura in Sharqiya province, a key oil hub tied into wider power and export infrastructure networks. In the UAE, the list starts with the Barakah nuclear plant in Abu Dhabi, which generates around 5,600 megawatts for the grid. It then points to the Jebel Ali complex, where gas-fired generation is tightly coupled with huge desalination systems that supply water. Iran's media also name-checks the Mohammed bin Rashid Solar Park, one of the largest solar energy projects anywhere in the world. For Qatar, Ras Laffan's vast gas-based power plant is singled out as a backbone site for national electricity supply. The Al Hal facility, combining power generation and desalination south of Doha, is also listed as a possible target. In Kuwait, the Al Zour South and North plants are described as critical pillars of the national grid. Shakaya Energy Park, home to major solar and wind projects, rounds out the list as a symbol of Kuwait's future energy mix. Tehran's blackout threat followed Trump's vow that he would hit and obliterate Iran's power plants if Hormuz remained shut. He promised to go after various power plants, starting with the biggest one first, making electricity a declared war target. Trump then gave Iran a 48-hour deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face those strikes. His wording has been read as a veiled reference to major sites such as the Damavand and Ramin power complexes. Commentators also noted that Bush's nuclear plant was openly mentioned as a possible target, raising fears of radiological risk. Iran, for its part, operates nearly 100 gas-fired power plants across a sprawling national network, making decapitation strikes hard to complete. Analysts say that hitting Iran's power grid alone would not instantly choke off global oil volumes. But if Iran replies by striking Gulf power, gas, and desalination hubs, the secondary effects could unleash a full-blown global energy crisis. All this is happening around Hormuz, still the critical artery for a large share of global oil and LNG shipments. Escalation around energy infrastructure risks knocking out refineries, terminals, and ports that global supply chains depend on. Simultaneous hits on power plants and desalination facilities could paralyze Gulf economies by cutting both electricity and drinking water. Analysts warn that in a worst-case blackout scenario, the shockwaves would spread far beyond Iran and the Strait, into energy prices, trade routes, and domestic politics worldwide.